G'day subscribers. Today we're going to Jive talk about the judging system on interiors. I'm Jules Knight and you're on Jive Talking Garage. So if we're going to talk about interiors, let's talk about the judging system. So we're talking about a nationals or state titles or a local show for early Holdens that uses the Australian Early Holden Federation formula for judging, their AHF system. So in this case, for interior, it's out of 100 points. Now, out of the 100 points, it'll just be dependent on seats, headlining, paintwork inside, door trims. So we're talking about the door cards, door trims, the floor mats or carpets, the boot cargo area, handles and knobs, and instrument fittings. So we'll go through each of those individually. But before we do, there'll be differences here from the perspective of whether the vehicle is stock or whether it's modified. Modifieds are a lot easier to do because you don't have to get into the detail of whether things are authentic or correct or any of those sorts of issues. With stock interiors, the 48 model is different to the FJ as far as the size of the seat, the pleats in the seat, all those sorts of things, and the once you get into the FJ, the pleats in the interior will be different as well. Same with the door trims too. So with the FJ, I'll put a slide up from the history of Holden since 1917. They've got a good illustration there of the types of interior. Now they're black and white illustrations, but they're really good nonetheless. That show what the inside looks like. Now the other difference that you can get is whether it's a felt hood lining or whether it's what's called a water wave hood lining, which is that PVC plastifab material. Now that was used on 56 models as they got closer to the FE release, and they were certainly getting ready for the FE. They use water wave. It's a beautiful material. You see it in a few different colors. I've seen green, blue, and a brown as well. Some of the motor trimmers that carry it call it Holden swirly pattern, but its correct name was water wave back in the day. But anyway, look, I digress, and I don't mean to. So moving on, if stock's hard in getting things authentic or restored or correct or whatever is that case, well then modified is a little bit easier because you're judging what's there and the quality of it and how it's presented. So as far as the seats are concerned, it says seats, and it says 30. Now I'll say in the old days there used to be a category for the front seat and a category for the back seat. Well, too bad if you had a ute. I've seen some judges not give any points at all for a ute or a panel van for the back seat part of it, and they've missed out on whatever components were carried over at the time for the back seat. So it's much fairer now. Seat plural out of 30 points. So if you've got a sedan, it's out of 30 for the front bench and the back seats. For the ute, it's that bench seat, and for the van, it's that bench seat. If you've got an army ute, it would be the bench seat, and I don't know whether you'd call the jump seat in the back the the cargo area to be included as far as the seat is concerned, but we are talking about interior, so I would suppose not. That would be probably included in cargo as far as the other part of it was concerned in its own category. But anyway, that'll drop down into the cargo area. So seats out of 30. Now the headlining is out of 10. So 10 points for the headlining. So what you're doing there is you're just making sure that everything's nothing sagged, because there's bows that go across the actual underside of the roof that has internal sleeves on it that the bows go through, and that's what holds the hood lining up. As I've mentioned, I've seen felt, I've seen water wave PVC. So yeah, that's out of 10. Now the paintwork inside. So we're talking about the dash and on the sides of the car. Now, if it's a panel van, it would include that cargo area as well, perhaps. A little bit of consideration needs to be put there because there is another section for that in interior, but we'll get to that in a moment. So generally speaking, paintwork out of 10 points. So there I would consider doors, the dash itself, and so on, the A pillars and A pillar, B pillar, and the door jambs as such, and just to see how it all has been presented, what the work's like. The door trims are out of 10. 10 points for door trims. Now, as I mentioned, there's different styles that you could get. The Holden, Ute, and panel van were pretty plain. The 215 and 217 for both the 48 model and also the FJ were pretty plain. And then when you got to the special, you had different designs there, and they started, adding that little bit of glamour and luxury to it as well. And that's where you could get a little bit of variety and difference. But door trims, 10. Now the next category off the rank is floor mats stroke carpets. So if you don't have a floor mat, you got carpets, that's 10 points. Now, floor mats you can get now. They started remaking them in the 80s, and we were given some awful lot of BS as far as these nasty, and the quote was, nasty people who were remanufacturing them were going to destroy the tooling and they wouldn't be available, so you got to get in now. Well, gee whiz, it's 2021 now, and things are still being made. So it's just wonderful that they actually are. So that's really terrific. Now, on an FX or an FJ, they're pretty plain, just the black. When my friend had an immaculate FB with 19,000 miles on it, it was two-tone green, so it was green with the flash down the side. Now that front floor mat had like a mist of green just over the the floor mat itself, and I thought, oh, that looked it looked like it was overspray myself, but it just had that little mist over it. It looked really, really flash as far as an accent was concerned, so that was good. So it's floor mats, carpets. Now, the boot and the cargo area. So boot, we're talking sedan. Cargo area, we're talking ute or panel van. 15 points. So as far as that's concerned, in the ute, you'll be looking at the floor mat, whether it might have any jute underneath of it or not, as far as what the specification is, whether it's got bitumen board on the sides for a 48 or whether it's just painted, as far as what the correct specification is for that year. That's if it's a stocky. And the same for the utes and panel vans as far as the cargo area is concerned. Now that will include, if it's a panel van, as I just mentioned, the paintwork that's all on the sides and on the back, and the turret, the inside of the turret. So that'll be for a panel van. If it's ute, it'll just be the inside of the quarter panels and the wheel arches and the obviously the bottom of the tailgate. That's the cargo area, plus the timber floorboards and the cargo sliding runners. Now, all of those should be Mundy Brown. I've spoken to probably about 3 General Motors painters to get the story about how Mundy Brown was created, and that's the colour. I'll stick it up on the end of the clip. Now, for those people say, "Oh, that's the wrong colour, it's the wrong shade," or whatever. Firstly, get a life. There are variations in everything. I talk about what I see and what I know based on the fact that I live in Brisbane, and I've only been doing FXs and FJs in Brisbane since 1979. So look, there can be different shades, and there was variation in it as well. So if people want to jump on the bandwagon to say, "Oh, look, mine's different," or whatever, yeah, it is. There's going to be a little bit of difference in it. And if you catch up to me at a Nationals one day, I'll tell you what I know and what's been said to me by the painters. So I'm happy to do that. But the boards and the cargo runners are all painted Mundy Brown. That's the specification. It's not brown boards and body colour runners, or body colour boards and body colour runners. I've actually saw a car win at the Nationals, and it was just wrong. It shouldn't have even been there. It shouldn't have been in stock because it was the wrong surface for it to go into stock. It was just wrong. However, these things happen and people move on. So in the back, Mundy Brown. Now, the other thing the judges are going to... So that's 15 points for the boot and the cargo area. Now, handles and knobs are going to be 5 points. So you've got them on each door. So, if I'm judging, it'd be like 5 points for each door. What are they like? Well, you can buy all that stuff brand new now. You don't have to have, the old days of, you'd find a white ivory window winder, and it was not bad condition, and that's what you were hoping for, because the white are the ones that actually ruin from the UV light, whereas the black special window winders seem to actually last the test of time, but white doesn't. So you can buy all that stuff brand new now. So it's terrific that is actually available. Now, the last thing on their list to add up to the 100 points is the instruments and fittings. So I'm suggesting that's the speedo head. So that would be the instruments that are in there. And as far as the fittings are concerned, that would be a catch-all for anything else, like if there's other gauges or if there's stuff done or whatever is the case. How are those things presented and finished? Are they really good, like 10's perfection? So out of perfection, what are they? Is it perfect, or is it 5, 7, whatever is the case? And that's how you sort of get to the 100. So we're talking about seats 30, headlining 10, paintwork 10, door trims 10, the floor mats and carpets and all carpets 10, the boot or cargo area out of 15, handles and knobs out of 5, and instruments and fittings out of 10, bringing you to 100. So all of this is adding up to getting a grand total. Obviously, in the end, as far as determining who the winners of different categories are. But look, I'm trying to demystify the AHF judging system, and that's the summation of the interior. So I hope that's acceptable to everybody. Stop by Nasco Bay on Facebook, Nasco Bay Jive Talking Garage, and see what we're doing on our quirky little home of Holden. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. But more importantly, enjoy your Holden.